Greetings, fellow witches and wizards, and welcome to another episode of Harry Potter Academy, the portal to the most enchanting corner of the digital realm where the ordinary transforms into the extraordinary.
Hogwarts Year 2, 1992. Part 1. Meeting Dobby. In 1992, Harry's second year began on a sour note that only worsened over time. During the preceding summer, the Dursleys, apprehensive about Harry's newfound magical abilities, went to extreme lengths by locking away all his school supplies upon his return home. They even prohibited him from uttering any words related to magic, leading to Uncle Vernon reprimanding him for mentioning magic at the breakfast table. Despite these restrictions, Harry cleverly exploited their paranoia to carve out moments of solitude. He entertained himself by teasing Dudley with imaginary magical incantations like jiggery-pokery, hocus-pocus, and squiggly-wiggly. Additionally, he experienced isolation from his friends and the wizarding world, with Hedwig making noise out of boredom in her padlocked cage. On his 12th birthday, July 31st, Harry felt a deep sense of loneliness, receiving no letters from friends. Dudley cruelly taunted him, questioning the possibility of anyone wanting to be friends with him. The Dursleys, preoccupied with preparing for a dinner party, seemed to forget his birthday. As Harry observed a hedge that seemed to stare back at him, Dudley interrupted, leading Harry to feign magical incantations to scare him away. Later that evening, while sent to his room for the dinner party, Harry discovered Dobby, a house elf, on his bed. Dobby warned him about the danger of returning to Hogwarts and revealed that he had intercepted mail from Harry's friends. Despite Harry's insistence that Hogwarts was his home, Dobby's attempts to bargain failed. In a dramatic turn of events, Dobby crashed the dinner party and used a hover charm on Petunia's pudding to crash it over the guest's head, resulting in chaos and a Ministry of Magic warning for Harry. The Dursleys, seizing the opportunity to suppress Harry's magical abilities, punished him by locking him in his room with barred windows to prevent him from returning to Hogwarts. Part 2. Escape to the Burrow. 3 nights later, Ron, concerned about not receiving any communication from Harry throughout the summer, orchestrated a daring rescue. Accompanied by his older brothers Fred and George Weasley, they piloted a flying Ford Anglia owned by their father, Arthur Weasley, head of the Ministry's Misuse of Muggle Artifacts Office. The mission: to break the bars on Harry's window and retrieve him and his school belongings. Hedwig's loud screeches tipped off the Dursleys, but their attempts to intervene were futile as the car soared away, carrying Harry to freedom. During the flight to the Weasley family's home, the Burrow, Harry shared with Ron and the twins the details of Dobby's ominous warning. Fred and George dismissed it as a prank orchestrated by Draco Malfoy, whose affluent family they believed was behind such mischief. Upon reaching their destination early the next morning, a concerned Molly Weasley awaited them in the kitchen. In response to their unauthorized use of the flying car, she assigned the task of denoming the garden to her 3 sons and Harry, who volunteered for the job. Mr. Weasley returned home to discuss the outcomes of his proposed Muggle Protection Act with his family. Despite Mrs. Weasley scolding him for bewitching the car, he warmly welcomed Harry into the fold. The Weasleys generously embraced Harry as part of the family for the remainder of the summer. However, Ron's younger sister, Ginny Weasley, spent the entire day hiding in Harry's presence. Part 3. Welcoming at Flourish and Blots. A week after receiving an acceptance letter for Hogwarts, the Weasleys embarked on a trip to Diagon Alley via the Flu network to procure school supplies. Harry found himself mistakenly in Borgin and Burke's in Knockturn Alley instead of the intended destination. While inside, he had to conceal himself in a crushing cabinet as Draco Malfoy and his father, Lucius Malfoy, entered. Draco, displaying his sulkiness, was making snide comments about Harry's Quidditch skills. Mr. Borgin, the shopkeeper, was surprised that Mr. Malfoy was only selling dark and illegally enchanted artifacts rather than buying. Mr. Malfoy explained that he was sealing the items to prevent them from being confiscated in the raids conducted by Mr. Weasley as part of the Muggle Protection Act. In conversation, Borgin expressed pity for the decline of blood purity, while Draco expressed interest in various items for sale, but his father prevented him from approaching Harry's hiding spot. After the Malfoys left, Harry was discovered leaving the shop by Rubeus Hagrid, who guided him from Nocturne into Diagon Alley's Flourish and Blots. There, the Weasleys, Hermione and her parents were in line for a book signing by the flamboyant but inept celebrity author Gilderoy Lockhart, the newly appointed Defense Against the Dark Arts professor at Hogwarts. Lockhart, upon spotting Harry, enthusiastically called him to the front, allowing pictures to be taken before gifting Harry a set of his books. Embarrassed by the attention, Harry gave the books to Ginny, deciding he could afford his own set. Draco congratulated him sarcastically for making the front page unintentionally, but an argument erupted between Mr. Weasley and Lucius Malfoy over the former's Muggle obsession. The conflict escalated until Weasley lunged at Malfoy, with Hagrid intervening just in time. However, before the altercation ended, Lucius Malfoy discreetly slipped a diary into Ginny's cauldron of schoolbooks. Part 4. Car flight alongside the Hogwarts Express. When attempting to access Platform 9 3/4 to join Hermione and the Weasleys, the barrier unexpectedly sealed, causing Harry and Ron to collide with the wall. This mishap resulted in them missing the Hogwarts Express. Opting for an unconventional solution, they decided to fly Mr. Weasley's car to Hogwarts, relying on the invisibility booster to evade detection. Unfortunately, the booster malfunctioned shortly after takeoff, and their flight northward alongside the train was witnessed by Muggles. Their day-long airborne journey concluded with a less than graceful crash into the Whomping Willow. The impact broke Ron's wand, and the angered tree pounded the car. Fortunately, the battered Anglia expelled Harry and Ron with their belongings before driving off into the Forbidden Forest. Professor Snape discovered the boys watching the sorting ceremony and took them to his office, where they received separate detentions from Albus Dumbledore and Professor McGonagall. Meanwhile, Ginny Weasley was sorted into Gryffindor. The following day, Ron received a howler from his mother at breakfast, warning him of consequences if he broke another rule. Their misfortunes continued in the first Defense Against the Dark Arts class with Lockhart, whose teaching proved disastrous. Lockhart administered a pop quiz on himself and released a cage of freshly caught Cornish pixies, abandoning his students to handle the chaos. In subsequent Defense Against the Dark Arts lessons, Harry found himself acting out scenes from Lockhart's books. Lockhart volunteered to administer Harry's detention. Infatuated with fame, he sought Harry's assistance in answering fan mail. Ron, on the other hand, was tasked with polishing school prizes and trophies. Not only did Harry attract the attention of star-struck first-year Gryffindors like Colin Creevey, but Ginny also harboured a significant crush on him. While doing tedious work during detention, Harry began hearing a sinister, disembodied voice that Lockhart remained oblivious to. Part 5. Death Day Party. To avoid severe punishment from Argus Filch for a deed he didn't commit, Harry promised to attend Nearly Headless Nick's Death Day Party on Halloween. This act of goodwill was aimed at enhancing Nick's reputation and helping him fulfill his dream of joining the Headless Hunt. Harry brought Ron and Hermione along, with Hermione looking forward to the unique experience of attending a Death Day party, while Ron was less enthusiastic. The party proved to be a somber affair, featuring a candlelit dinner of repugnant, mouldy food that induced gagging in all three living attendees. Harry understood that the aim behind intentionally spoiled food was to simulate the ghostly ability to almost taste seriously decayed meals. Sir Nicholas appreciated the student's presence as it elevated his standing among the deceased. Despite their initial goodwill, the trio grew weary of the ghostly gathering and returned to the Great Hall. On their way to the Halloween feast, Harry, hearing the mysterious voice, inaudible to Ron and Hermione, followed it to the second floor. There, he discovered a flooded bathroom, Filch's cat, Mrs. Norris, petrified, and a cryptic message on the wall. Distraught, Filch falsely accused Harry of the incident and, with Snape, attempted to implicate him. Dumbledore, however, dismissed the possibility, citing the use of powerful dark magic beyond the capability of a second-year student. The plan to use mature mandrakes from Professor Sprout to create a potion for reviving Mrs. Norris was set in motion. This unsettling event left both students and staff uneasy, with many fearing that the ominous writing on the wall signaled the beginning of troubling times. Part 6. History of Magic. Driven by a desire to delve into the Chamber of Secrets, Hermione persuaded History of Magic professor Cuthbert Binns to share its origin with the class. Binns commenced the tale by tracing it back to the founding of Hogwarts in 990 AD by four eminent wizards and witches: Godric Gryffindor, Helga Hufflepuff, Rowena Ravenclaw, and Salazar Slytherin. However, Slytherin's departure stemmed from a dispute over the admission of Muggleborns. When the rift between him and Gryffindor became insurmountable, Slytherin left the school. Legend had it that he crafted a parting gift in the form of a secret chamber, accessible only by his true heir. This Chamber of Secrets purportedly housed a monster meant to cleanse the school of Muggleborns. Professor Binns, attempting to dispel the notion, assured the class that the chamber was a mere legend, and the school had been thoroughly searched without success. Convinced that Draco Malfoy was the heir of Slytherin, Harry, Ron, and Hermione contemplated proving it. Hermione suggested using the Polyjuice potion, capable of transforming one's appearance. She cautioned that brewing the potion would take a month, provided they gathered the necessary ingredients, including one from Professor Snape's private inventory, and managed to keep the plan under wraps. Part 7. Quidditch. During the month of brewing the Polyjuice potion, a Quidditch match unfolded between Gryffindor and Slytherin. Draco Malfoy had become Slytherin's new seeker, courtesy of his father's generous donation of Nimbus 2001 brooms to the team. In the midst of the match, a bludger singled out Harry, relentlessly pursuing him. Malfoy seized the opportunity to mock Harry's evasive maneuvers, raising suspicions among the crowd that the bludger had been tampered with. Despite the interference, Harry managed to catch the snitch, securing Gryffindor's victory. However, the bludger broke his arm, and Lockhart's misguided attempt at healing resulted in the removal of all the bones. Madame Pomfrey administered Skelegro to remedy the situation, confining Harry to the hospital wing overnight. During the night, Dobby visited Harry, confessing to orchestrating the bludger's pursuit and blocking platform 9 3/4, all in a misguided attempt to prevent Harry from attending Hogwarts and encountering the monster in the Chamber of Secrets. Dobby implored Harry to leave the school, but Harry refused. Dobby, breaking house elf rules by revealing private information, punished himself and vanished. Shortly after, Dumbledore, McGonagall, and Madame Pomfrey entered with Colin Creevey, who had been petrified. Colin was discovered with a camera containing film that had melted. Part 8. The Dueling Club. Reluctantly, Harry enrolled in a dueling club taught by his least favourite teachers, Lockhart and Snape, held in the Great Hall. The first meeting revealed Lockhart's ineptitude as Snape disarmed him effortlessly, leading to a dull practice duel. To make matters worse, during the practice duel between Harry and Malfoy, Malfoy conjured a snake under Snape's instruction. Lockhart's attempt to banish the snake only unleashed it on the students. Spotting the snake advancing toward a Muggle-born Hufflepuff named Justin Finch Fletchley, whom Harry had met earlier, Harry instinctively commanded it to stop, much to his surprise. However, The other students, unaware of Harry's ability to speak Parseltongue, the language of snakes, interpreted it differently. Fearing that Harry was egging the snake on, they grew apprehensive. Parseltongue, closely associated with Salazar Slytherin, became a rare and dubious gift. Consequently, Harry became the prime suspect for being Slytherin's heir, with vicious rumors circulating about his supposed lack of magical decency. Shortly after conversing with Hagrid, Harry encountered a petrified Justin Finch Fletchley and a smoky, nearly headless Nick. Peeves alerted the school, and Ernie Macmillan accused Harry of being caught red-handed. For the first time, Harry was taken to Dumbledore's office, where he witnessed Fawkes, Dumbledore's phoenix, bursting into ashes and being reborn. Despite Dumbledore and Hagrid vouching for Harry's innocence, a significant portion of the school remained convinced that he was Slytherin's heir. Part 9. Disguised as Slytherins. Harry, Ron and Hermione chose to stay at Hogwarts over Christmas, following the example set by Malfoy, Crabbe and Goyle. This decision presented the ideal opportunity to implement their Polyjuice potion plan. As Christmas arrived, they laced chocolate cakes with a sleeping draught to incapacitate Crabbe and Goyle, allowing them to collect their hairs and assume their identities. However, Hermione mistakenly used a hair from Millicent Bulstrode's cat, resulting in her transformation into a hybrid creature and a stay in the hospital wing. Under the guise of Crabbe and Goyle, Harry and Ron interrogated Malfoy, discovering that he was not the heir of Slytherin. Malfoy revealed that the last time the chamber was opened, a Muggle-born girl died, and the responsible party was expelled. During the conversation, Malfoy expressed his disdain for Dumbledore and Harry, also disclosing his father's secret stash of illegal artifacts in Malfoy Manor. Weeks later, Ron and Harry overheard Filch complaining about his workload and leaving. Investigating Moaning Myrtle's bathroom, they found it flooded. Myrtle, a melancholic ghost, explained that she flooded it because someone threw a diary at her. Harry picked up the diary, belonging to a T.M. Riddle, which appeared blank. Ron recalled a student named Riddle winning an award for special service to the school 50 years earlier. Hermione theorized that Riddle might have received the award for catching the culprit responsible for the previous attacks. Despite unsuccessful attempts to extract information from the diary, Harry felt compelled to keep it. On Valentine's Day, Ron and Harry were dismayed by Lockhart's Cupid dwarves spread throughout the school for Valentines. While avoiding them, Harry tripped, spilling black ink all over his bag's contents. Ginny noticed the diary and reacted with horror. Part 10. The Secret Diary. Subsequently, Harry observed that despite the spilled ink, the diary remained unstained. Intrigued, he attempted to communicate with the diary, and to his astonishment, T.M. Riddle responded, revealing himself as the one who had apprehended the culprit in the previous opening of the Chamber of Secrets. Riddle offered to show Harry the events, and in agreement, Harry was drawn into a recording of Riddle's memory from 1943. In this memory, Harry witnessed Headmaster Armando Dippet informing Riddle about the potential closure of the school. Apprehensive, Riddle caught Rubeus Hagrid with a large spider in a box and reported him to Dippet. The memory also unveiled Riddle's orphan status and his full name, Tom Marvolo Riddle. This revelation led Harry to ponder whether Hagrid was responsible for opening the chamber 50 years ago, and if he was involved again. Precisely what Riddle intended. Harry, Ron and Hermione decided not to question Hagrid, hoping the attacks had ceased. Almost 4 months after the attacks on Justin and nearly headless Nick, the disembodied voice remained silent, and the attacks appeared to have halted. However, peculiar incidents continued. One day, Harry found his dormitory in disarray, leading Ron to deduce that someone had been searching for something. Eventually, they discovered that Tom Riddle's diary was missing perplexing them as only a Gryffindor would have known the dormitory password. Part 11. Cornelius Fudge. The following day, the anticipated Quidditch match between Gryffindor and Hufflepuff was abruptly cancelled due to another attack, and Harry once again heard the mysterious voice. This time, Professor McGonagall personally summoned Harry and Ron, guiding them to the hospital wing, where they found Hermione petrified. Near the library, she was discovered with a Ravenclaw prefect, inexplicably clutching a small, circular mirror. This occurrence shifted suspicion away from Harry, as students knew he would never harm Hermione. Some, like Ernie Macmillan, even offered apologies. Determined to seek answers, Harry and Ron decided to approach Hagrid. With increased supervision, reaching Hagrid wasn't easy, but they managed it by utilizing Harry's invisibility cloak. Upon reaching Hagrid's cabin, they concealed themselves just before Dumbledore and Minister for Magic Cornelius Fudge arrived. Fudge announced Hagrid's impending transfer to the wizard prison Azkaban as a precaution, citing Hagrid's involvement in the previous opening of the Chamber of Secrets. Lucius Malfoy joined them, revealing that the Hogwarts governors had unanimously voted to suspend Dumbledore, despite the questionable logic that it would exacerbate the situation. Both Hagrid and Dumbledore offered final words, with Hagrid covertly suggesting to Harry and Ron to follow the spiders if they sought the truth. Dumbledore emphasized that he would only leave the school when none remained loyal to him, and assured that help would always be available to those in need at Hogwarts. Part 12. Visit to Aragog's lair. Following Hagrid's advice, Harry and Ron opted to pursue the spiders. Traversing the trails of fleeing arachnids, they entered the Forbidden Forest. Despite Ron's profound fear of spiders, the urgency to help Hermione, who had been petrified, fueled his determination to press on. In the forest, they encountered the Ford Anglia, seemingly navigating the terrain like a wild creature. Their journey led them to Aragog, a colossal spider that Hagrid had been accused of setting on students 50 years earlier. Aragog clarified Hagrid's innocence, but, instead of allowing their departure, decided to designate Harry and Ron as dinner for his offspring. The situation took an unexpected turn when Mr. Weasley's Ford Anglia burst through the spider layers, facilitating the boys' escape. Feeling they had exhausted all leads, Harry and Ron clung to one potential lifeline. Aragog mentioned that the monster's last victim perished in a bathroom, prompting Harry to consider Moaning Myrtle as a possible victim. Yet, infiltrating the girls' bathroom near the site of the initial attack seemed nearly impossible given the heightened security measures at the school. Part 13. The Last Attack. Later that same day, Harry and Ron successfully deceived Lockhart, who was leading them to their next class, by appealing to his vanity. However, their moment of triumph was short-lived as they were apprehended by Professor McGonagall. Forced to concoct an excuse, Harry claimed they were on their way to visit Hermione in the hospital wing, which was now off-limits to visitors. Reluctantly, they had to proceed to make their alibi plausible. This time, while near Hermione's petrified form, Harry noticed a tightly clutched piece of paper in her hand. The paper unveiled Hermione's findings before the attack. She had deduced, based on compelling circumstantial evidence, that the Chamber of Secrets housed a basilisk, a colossal serpent capable of causing petrification and death through direct eye contact. This explained why only Harry, being a Parseltongue, could hear it. Interestingly, none of the victims died because they hadn't looked directly into its gaze. Colin Creevey saw it through his camera, Justin Finch-Fletchley through nearly headless Nick, who was already deceased. Mrs. Norris saw its reflection in water of the flooded bathroom, and Hermione used a mirror to peer around corners after unraveling the mystery. The note also mentioned that spiders feared the basilisk, clarifying their exodus from Hogwarts, and that a rooster's crow could potentially be fatal to it, explaining the mysterious deaths of Hagrid's roosters during the year. This piece of information encapsulated the year's events. Additionally, the note featured a scribbled word, pipes, indicating that the serpent traversed through the plumbing. With the mystery unraveled, Harry and Ron resolved to report to the teachers in the staff room. However, upon arrival, they overheard the teachers discussing another attack. Concealing themselves to glean more details, they learned that Ginny had been kidnapped and the heir of Slytherin had left another message. Harry and Ron also discovered that Hogwarts would be closed the next day. The teachers then delegated the responsibility of dealing with the monster to Lockhart, who had been boasting about his capability to handle the situation, much to the irritation of the staff. Crestfallen, Lockhart departed for his room. Part 14. Discovery in the bathroom. On that fateful night, Harry and Ron grappled with feelings of uselessness and helplessness. A sudden realization struck Harry. If the serpent used the plumbing and a girl had died the last time the chamber was opened, then the entrance must be in the bathroom haunted by moaning Myrtle. With the decision that Lockhart, boasting of dealing with the monster, needed to know what they knew, they sought him out in his room. However, upon arrival, they discovered him hastily packing, intending to run away. Pressed for an explanation, Lockhart confessed to his fraudulent acts, admitting to using memory charms on those who actually accomplished the feats he claimed in his books. In an attempt to cast a memory charm on Harry and Ron, they managed to disarm him, and wielding their wands, escorted him to Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. Inquiring about her death, Moaning Myrtle willingly recounted her last sight, a pair of enormous eyes by one of the sinks. Notably, this sink had a non-functional tap. Harry deduced that Parseltongue was required to open the tap, as the tap had an engraved snake. The tap served as the entrance to the Chamber of Secrets. Descending through a large pipe, Harry, Ron and Lockhart found themselves in a labyrinth of tunnels beneath the school. Encountering a discarded snakeskin left by the Basilisk, they pressed forward. However, Lockhart, seizing an opportunity, feigned fainting and snatched Ron's wand. Boasting his intention to erase their memories and fabricate a tale of their insanity at the sight of Ginny's presumed demise, Lockhart attempted a spell. Ron's damaged wand caused the charm to backfire, wiping Lockhart's memory and causing part of the ceiling to collapse. This left Harry trapped in the direction of the chamber, and Ron in the direction of the castle. With no alternative, Ron remained behind to clear a path through the rubble, while Harry pressed on in search of Ginny. Approaching a wall adorned with stone snakes, he opened it using Parseltongue, gaining entry into the chamber itself. Part 15. The Chamber of Secrets. Within the chamber, a chilling scene awaited Harry as he discovered Ginny lying on the cold ground, lifeless and pale. Dropping his wand, he rushed to her side, desperately attempting to elicit any response. Yet his efforts were met with silence. To his astonishment, Tom Riddle stood before him, holding Harry's wand and sporting a sinister smile. Riddle disclosed that he was a preserved memory, residing within the diary for half a century. As Riddle explained the past events, he admitted to opening the Chamber of Secrets 50 years prior with the intent to rid the school of Muggleborns and half-bloods. Learning that Dumbledore, then the Transfiguration teacher, was closing in on him, Riddle halted the attacks and framed Hagrid to avoid exposure. In a strategic move, he left behind the diary containing the memory of his 16-year-old self, hoping an unsuspecting victim would aid him in completing his mission. Throughout the year, Ginny confided in the diary, and Riddle, in return, cunningly drew out her fears, hopes, and emotions. Unbeknownst to Ginny, she unwittingly imparted a part of her soul to him, fulfilling Riddle's sinister plan. Gradually gaining strength, Riddle succeeded in transferring some of his soul back into her, seizing control of her body to reopen the chamber and initiate a new wave of attacks. However, Ginny grew suspicious and decided to dispose of the diary by flushing it down the toilet in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. Harry stumbled upon it, and Ginny, alarmed on Valentine's Day, reclaimed the diary from Harry's dormitory. Falling under its influence once more, this time with the intention to kill Harry, Ginny inscribed her farewell on the wall, drawing him into a perilous rescue mission. Riddle inquired about Harry's triumph over the dark wizard Lord Voldemort as an infant. Puzzled, Harry questioned Riddle's interest, as Voldemort existed beyond his time. Riddle asserted that Voldemort was his past, present, and future. With Harry's wand, Riddle inscribed his name in the air, Tom Marvolo Riddle, which then rearranged to form I am Lord Voldemort. This revelation unveiled that Riddle, a half-blood, manipulated his name to instill fear as he aspired to become the most powerful wizard in the world, a legacy tracing back to Salazar Slytherin through his wizard grandfather. Part 16. Battling the Basilisk. In response, Harry refuted the claim, asserting that the true greatest wizard was Dumbledore, not Voldemort. Even at the zenith of Voldemort's power, he feared Dumbledore, and now he was but a feeble existence. Riddle, angered by this contradiction, contended that Dumbledore had been forced out of the castle by the mere memory of him. In a vehement retort, Harry proclaimed that Dumbledore's influence persisted, which summoned Fawkes the Phoenix and the Sorting Hat, assets Riddle dismissed as useless. Attempting to turn the tide, Riddle summoned the Basilisk, commanding it to kill Harry. Fawkes, however, proved formidable and blinded the Basilisk by pecking out its eyes. Despite the blindness, the Basilisk remained a potent threat, relying on its sense of smell. In a moment of desperation, Harry donned the Sorting Hat, hoping for assistance. To his surprise, a heavy sword with a hilt adorned with rubies descended from the hat. Evading the Basilisk's attacks, Harry ultimately drove the sword into the roof of its mouth, ending its life. In the process, a poisonous fang pierced Harry's arm, injecting a deadly toxin. As Riddle gloated over his perceived victory, Fawkes, through his tears, healed Harry instantly. With a basilisk fang, Harry stabbed the diary 3 times, inadvertently destroying one of Voldemort's Horcruxes. Riddle's manifestation disintegrated, thwarting his attempt to return to life. Ink spilled from the book, as Riddle's memory vanished, and Ginny, now awakened, appeared distressed. Harry and Ginny traversed the chamber to reunite with Ron and Lockhart, the latter disoriented and unaware of his surroundings. Part 17. Escaping the chamber. Clutching onto Fawkes, Harry, Ron, Ginny and Lockhart soared out of the chamber with the help of the Phoenix's unique flying ability. Returning to the castle, they were greeted by Dumbledore, McGonagall, Arthur and Molly Weasley, who were overjoyed to see them unharmed. Harry fretted over the possibility of Ginny being wrongly blamed for the attacks, but Dumbledore astutely identified Voldemort as the true culprit. Relieved, Harry witnessed Ginny leaving to rest, and to his surprise, both he and Ron were awarded 200 house points each for Gryffindor and received an award for special services to the school. Dumbledore then entrusted Ron with Hagrid's release paper to be sent, and had a private conversation with Harry. During their discussion, Harry expressed his apprehension about belonging in Slytherin. Dumbledore disclosed that Voldemort had unknowingly passed some of his powers to Harry, explaining his ability to speak Parseltongue. Questioning Harry about his placement in Gryffindor despite possessing Slytherin-like qualities, Dumbledore affirmed that it was Harry's explicit choice during the Sorting Hat ceremony. Emphasizing that choices reveal true character more than abilities, Dumbledore praised Harry for demonstrating genuine loyalty in the chamber, a quality that summoned Fawkes to his aid. Dumbledore pointed out the sword Harry retrieved from the hat, revealing it bore Godric Gryffindor's name, a testament that only a true Gryffindor could wield it. Part 18. Dobby's Reward. Lucius Malfoy stormed into Dumbledore's office, expressing his indignation over Dumbledore's return to the school after being dismissed. In response, Dumbledore calmly explained that the governors had invited him back upon learning of the attack on Arthur Weasley's daughter. It was revealed that Lucius had coerced the governors into voting for Dumbledore's removal by threatening to curse their families. Dobby entered the room with Lucius, revealing his servitude to the Malfoys. Dumbledore and Malfoy engaged in a composed yet intense exchange, during which Dumbledore and Harry, with subtle hints from Dobby, exposed Lucius for covertly slipping Riddle's diary, an illicit artifact, into Ginny's belongings during the altercation at Flourish and Blots. The plan was to frame Ginny for the attacks and cast doubt on the Muggle Protection Act proposed by Arthur Weasley. Although Dumbledore lacked concrete evidence to prove his accusation, he cautioned Malfoy against orchestrating similar schemes. Aware that a house elf could be freed by receiving clothing, Harry deceived Malfoy into releasing Dobby by covering Riddle's diary in one of his socks, promptly discarded by Malfoy and caught by Dobby. Unsuccessful in his attempt to harm Harry, Malfoy was thwarted by Dobby. Expressing profound gratitude to Harry, Dobby departed. At the concluding feast, Dumbledore announced a school treat, cancelling all final exams, much to Hermione's dismay, and declared that Lockhart would not be returning to Hogwarts.
Thanks for joining me on this magical journey in the wizarding world. But hold on to your broomsticks, because the magic is far from over. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell, so you're always in the loop when the next enchanting adventure begins. Before you apparate away, lend a bit of your magic by giving this video a thumbs up. It's like casting a charm that helps our community grow. Thanks for being part of this magical community. Until next time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.